This video just going to show you some features within IronCAD, including the user interface as well as the triball, which is unique to IronCAD. It's a 3D navigation tool for creating parts, assemblies, sketches and so on, and just give you a general overview of some of the features as well. So when you first open up IronCAD, this is the welcome screen that you see, and along here we've actually got the various options for creating new files. So we've got a new scene here, so you can create your models here. You've got the inbuilt 2D drawing system here, and you've also got the third-party Capture Draft application here, both of which can be used in association with the models and assemblies that you create within IronCAD. Down here we've actually got the open option, so you can open an existing document, whether it be a part, an assembly or a drawing or whatever. And down here we've actually got a list of recent documents that you've been working on, so you can actually either open a recent document or go and search for a file that you want to open. So for now what we're going to do, we're just going to click on the new scene, 3D scene icon here, and what that will do, that will actually come away and will actually open up the modelling environment for you, the screen in IronCAD. And along the top here, this is the user interface, so you've got a series of tabs along the top. This is the ribbon bar below it. And so in here you've actually got things like home, feature, which is obviously, if you go to feature, you've got all your usual sort of modelling features, tools here. You've got spin, sweep, loft, thread, thicken, blend edges, chamfer edges, ribs, trims, emboss and so on. Along here we've got our 2D sketch tools, which you can use for creating sketches on parts if you wish. You've got surfacing, assembly, sheet metal, you've got tools in here as well, and you've got smart markup, visualization, annotation and so on. So that's basically our ribbon toolbar along the top. Down the left hand side we've got our scene browser here, so as you actually create parts and assemblies or sketches, you'll actually see these are added to the scene browser as you go, so it builds up the history for the model or the assembly. On the right hand side here we've got our catalogues. IronCAD comes with quite a range of catalogues built into the product, but you can open these as and when you require them. You can also, if you wish, create your own sort of catalogues here, and you can just simply drag and drop parts and assemblies from the scene into here and actually save these for future reference or whatever, for projects that you might be working on. So for now I'm going to go back to shapes. This is our standard shapes catalogue. Down the left hand side we've got various shapes down here, primitive shapes, and these are solid shapes on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you've got the equivalent shapes, but these are negative shapes, i.e. they're subtracted from the solid. So to get started I'm just going to simply click a block here, left mouse click, keeping it pressed, drag and drop it into the scene. So basically I can zoom in and out on this block using the mouse wheel. So what we can do now is, if you actually select this block once, you'll see down here there's actually a little icon with a pin on it, and if I actually select that with the left mouse button, that'll highlight that, and basically that represents the actual origin of this particular part, this solid. So our 0, 0 is based at that anchor point there. If I click the block again, you'll actually see that we've now got these little dots. They're actually control handles for this shape, and we call them size box handles within IronCAD. And if I click on one of these handles, you'll actually see that it actually gives you the physical dimension for that at the moment. That one there, if you see as I hover over that little icon there, it sort of tells me it's L, which is the length of that part. If I move around to this one, you'll see that says that's the width of the part, and that one there is the height of the part. So if I actually pick on this left hand icon, this button here now, like so, and if I say I maybe want to make that 175, that will actually extend this block 175 millimeters from this point here. So this one will remain fixed and this one will move. So I'll do that again. I'll pick on there and I'll say 175 and hit return, and you'll see now that that block is extended to 175 long. So if I pick on there, you can see it's 175. Likewise, I'm now going to go on here and I'm going to pick the height. So that's going to be the height from the bottom, and I'm going to say I want that maybe to be 120, like so. And finally I'm going to pick on this icon here, which is basically the width. Now if you want this to actually, if you're doing the width, you might want that to be symmetrical about that anchor point there. So in order to do that, if you look on here, you'll actually see there's a little yellow icon there, and if I pick on that inner icon, that yellow icon, you'll see that the other handle's gone yellow as well. So now if I actually move that with my left mouse button, you'll see that it's actually going to be symmetrical about the center of the shape. So I'm going to make that 250 millimeters. So that's actually the physical sort of parameter set of this particular block. So maybe now we want to add some features to this block. So if we go up to the feature option above our ribbon toolbar, I could say, okay, let's go and pick, sorry, I've jumped the gun. What we'll do, we'll add a hole to this part first. So what I'll do, I'll go over here and I'm going to pick that H cylinder there in the actual catalogue, and I'm just simply going to drag and drop that onto the center point of that block, like so. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick on that little axis there, that little button there, and that's going to represent the diameter of that hole. So let's make it 50 for want of a better. So there we are, that's the diameter of the hole. And if we look in here, you can see that in actual fact we can see the physical parameters associated with this hole. And if I click on that button there, the height, it tells me that that's 50 deep, so that's 50 down from the top. If you maybe want to actually extend that hole so that it's going down to the bottom, simply double click on the shape like so. Select that bottom button there with the left mouse button, keep it pressed, press the shift key on the keyboard so you're keeping the left button pressed and the shift key, and simply drag and drop and come down here until you pick an edge that you actually want to come down to. Doesn't matter which one on the base, but if you do that, now if I actually go back and look at this, you'll see that in actual fact the hole is going right the way through the part like so. So we go back now to this feature, and what I'm going to do in actual fact, under the feature ribbon toolbar, there's one there called blend edges. So I'll pick up on that one, and by the way, if I press the mouse wheel down and keep it pressed and just move the mouse, you can actually rotate the part like so as well. And in the actual properties box for this blend, you'll see here that we've actually got some we can actually set a radius here. So maybe I'll say okay, I want that to be 35 like so. And now it's asking me to pick the geometry, so I'll say I want to put it on that top edge there, so I can just simply pick that edge of the block there, and you'll see it preview there. That's going to be the 35mm blend radius on the front of that block, and just say OK with the green tick. We can now maybe drag another hole into here, so if we go to H cylinder, left mouse button, keeping it pressed, just drag and drop it into the corner like so. Let's do that again. So now we can see we've got our hole on the corner of the block, and obviously you'll see that it's actually not in the right orientation. I want that probably to be going down through the part. So what I can do here, I can press F10 and that'll bring up a tri-ball for the feature. Everything in IronCAD has a tri-ball associated with it, and F10 is one way of actually bringing up the tri-ball. And here we've got like what I call a 3D compass, so you've got like an inner sort of XYZ and an outer one with the handles here. So for now, if I want to rotate that down through 90 degrees, I can do it in two ways. I can pick maybe that handle there on that side of the tri-ball, press the right mouse button and go, let's do that. What we want that is to be perpendicular to a face. So I pick that option from the drop down and just pick it there, and it's basically now in the orientation I want it to be. What I'll do, I'll just turn off the tri-ball and I'll undo that, and I'll show you another way of doing that. So what we can do, we can press F10 again, and this time instead of using this one here perpendicular to a face, if we pick the outer axis of the tri-ball there, and in here there's a blue circle, what I can do is just simply hover into that circle. There's a hand comes up, a rotation symbol, press the right mouse button and simply drag that in the direction that you want that to go. So just drag it round in the direction you want to go, and I'll say move here, and what I'll say is I want that to be 90 degrees and just say OK. So basically now what we've actually got is our hole, and it's basically rotated 90 degrees, so it's actually again in the right orientation. So now what I'm going to do, if I double click on this hole like so, I can reposition this manually if I wish, and I can use the left mouse button to pick the anchor at the actual top of that cylinder, and I'll just drag it. I can drag it anywhere I want on this on this face, but more than that, I can actually just drag it around that curve, and you'll see that it's staying perpendicular to that curve wherever I put it. So I'm just going to simply put it on here like so. I'll just position it somewhere here like that, and it's actually now put that hole in the position I want it to be, and I can move that anytime wherever I want it to be. So I can bring it back down here, or maybe I want to bring it back up here like so. Very powerful tool. And what I can do now, if I press the F10 key, I can, in actual fact, if I want, maybe move it so that it's central and in line with that hole there. So if I press that axis there with the left mouse button, zoom into the tri-ball here, press the right mouse button and say let's move that to the centre point of that hole there. In actual fact, I missed the centre of the tri-ball. Let's do that again. What I'll do, I'll just get rid of the tri-ball. I don't want to be on the anchor, I actually want to be on here like so. So I press F10 now. And now also I want to move it in that direction, and I want it to be to the centre point of that hole there. And that will actually move it to the centre point in line with the other hole like so. Obviously I can come in here and I can extend this or change it, so I can actually sort of change its diameter, or I could actually just, let's do that, and I'll just pick on the handle there and I'll just drag that down. So it's actually going down through the actual block like so, and I can position that wherever I wish simply by dragging the handle there. So you can actually see now that we're actually going right the way down through the part like so. And that's basically how easy it is to actually start moulding or creating basic shapes using these sort of very powerful tools. Again, I could in actual fact, if I want to, let's go back up here, and what we'll do, we just put some blend edges on the edge of this block. So we'll say okay, let's make that 15 for instance, and I'll just pick on the edges that I actually want to actually create curves with. So I'll put them on all of these. So I could, if I wanted to, pick that and it'll put blends on the whole face. So you can very quickly do that, and just hit the green tick in the properties box again like so. So we've actually got that like that. And what I'm going to do now in actual fact is you can also, if you wish, well, let's bring in a hollow block, and what I'll do, I'll just pick a block there and I'll simply put it in here like that. Again, if I want that to be symmetrical about the centre, this is the actual yellow handle here for the length. I'll pick on this one here and I'll just simply drag that like so, come down here a bit, and maybe I want to go all the way down like that, and you see it's a hollow block that I've cut through here. And what I'll do now, I'll actually just drag that through here like so, and you can see this is a sort of it's very quick. We're not doing any sketching at all here, we're just simply using the shapes that are in the actual in the catalogue to create these features. Again here, maybe I want to put a chamfer edge on this edge here, so I just pick that one there, and that's currently at 15, so I'll leave that like that, pick that one there and just go OK. So that's how easy that is. And also, if we want, we can add as many sort of features as we want by dragging these in from the catalogue. You can also add things to it as well. So for instance, if I want to put a block on this top face here, say, along here, I'll just simply go to the block again, left mouse click, and I'll just drag that into a point. So I'll maybe put it on that edge there. And again, I can actually say, okay, I want to move this to here. Maybe I want to move that one there, right mouse click, and I'll say to a point, and I'll just pick that edge there. So that's now in line with the top edge. And maybe I want to bring this one out. And so what I can do in actual fact is pick the yellow handle here again. Let's come in here, pick the yellow handle here. And I'll say what I want that one to do is go to a point and just bring it over here to a point like so. And you can see that we've actually created that with ease. It's very quick for doing concept design work. So you can actually get your sort of design iterations down in very quick time. And you'll notice over here there are no sketches. We've done this purely from the actual sort of direct modelling tools within IronCAD. So it's very fast for that sort of thing, for creating design iterations. So what I'm going to do now, in actual fact, I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go to New. And what we'll do, we'll actually look at some of the other features within the tri-ball. So I'm going to go back over to the actual catalogue, and this time I'm going to bring in a solid cylinder like so. And again, if I select it twice, you've got the length here, so maybe I'll make that 180 diameter, and on the height maybe I'll make that 20 like so. So we've actually got our cylinder now. What I can also do is maybe drag another cylinder in, and I'll just put that on the top like so, just drag it over to the center point, and that'll put a block in there like that. And maybe I'll make that 150 diameter and come up here, and I'll make that, say let's make it 25 like so. Maybe you want a hole to go through the part, and if you look at this, because I've dragged the actual the second cylinder directly onto the top face of the first cylinder, if you look over here you'll actually see that this is a single part with one cylinder there and another cylinder there in the scene browser. So what I'm going to do now in actual fact is pick a hole here, hollow cylinder, drag and drop that onto the top face of the cylinder on the top, and what I'll do, I'll leave it at 40, and if I spin that round you can see we've got the hole going right the way through the part. And say this wants to be a flange, so maybe you want to put some holes on a PCD around this cylinder. That's very easy to do. We can go to the hollow cylinder, and basically what I'll do, I'll just pick it in here and I'll put it there like that, and maybe I'll make that say 12, hit return, press F10 to bring up the tri-ball for that hole. And what I'm going to do now on this outer axis, I'm going to press, hover over that handle there, press the right mouse button and simply drag it like so. Let go and select move here, and maybe I'll make that 70 as a distance, which is the radius for that hole on this flange. So it's actually positioned there now on the flange. And what I want to do now in actual fact is press the space bar, and what it's done now, it's actually detached the tri-ball from the hole feature, so effectively we can move this tri-ball independent of this hole. So what I'm going to do now in actual fact is simply right mouse click over here and say to the center point, say of that cylinder there. That's actually now in the center, and I'm going to press the space bar, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick on that vertical axis there, and I'm just going to hover into the center here, and I'm just going to press the right mouse button, and I'm just going to drag it round in the direction I want to go. And I'm going to go off of the drop down menu, I'm going to pick create radial pattern. So what we do, maybe we want 12 of these holes and we want those at an angle. We can say we want it 360 divide by 12 and just say OK, and effectively it's actually created that whole pattern for us. So that's how easy it is to actually create these sort of radial arrays and so on using the tri-ball like so. Maybe we want to mirror this, so maybe we've got two of these at a distance apart. What we can do now, we can actually pick that physical part, press F10, like so, and in actual fact if we just using the mouse button again, pressing it and moving the mouse, you're spinning it around. If we look here now, what we see is the actual tri-ball is in the center of this face of the disc. What I'm going to do now in actual fact is press the space bar again to detach the tri-ball from that disc. Maybe there's a gap between two faces of these mirrored parts. So what I'm going to do now is actually pick on this handle here, right mouse click and simply drag and just say move here, and I'll give that a distance. Maybe we'll make that 20. So if I say 20 there, so when we do the mirror it's going to be a 40mm gap between the two parts. Press the space bar and it's now attached, so the tri-ball is attached to the part, and if I hover over this little axis in the middle here, I'm going to say right mouse click and I'm going to say mirror and I'm going to say link. And basically what we've done now, we've actually linked that mirrored part there. So if I pick on this part here, you'll see that the actual edges of the mirrored part are now purple in colour. We did a mirror with a link, so that means now that anything that I bring into this part here will also be reflected in this part over here. So for instance, if I go to a hollow slot here, and I just drag and drop that somewhere in here like that, and what I'll do, I'll press the F10 again to attach it to this slot, and I'm going to pick on that outer axis here with the left mouse button, signifying that's the direction I want to move it in. I'm going to actually hover over the center of the slot and say to center point, so I'm going to put it to the center point there, so that's now in the middle like so, and you'll notice it's not gone right the way through, so I can just double click on that feature and I can just pick that up and just drag it through like so. So now you'll notice that in actual fact, because these are linked, there's a slot in both parts. So everything I've done in here is reflected in this one over here. So that's again a very powerful tool. So the tri-ball's been used to do that mirror, and I'll just extend that one there, and if you look over here that's done the same on that part there. So that's another feature within the tri-ball, something that's very useful. What I'll do, I'll go here and I'll close this one. No I won't, I'll just go file new. We'll just start a new scene. We'll start a new scene here. Another feature of the tri-ball, if we come down here, you'll notice there's a solid shape there called pi, so I've actually dragged that into here like so. So we've got this shape like that, and I can actually, if I want, just maybe change the physical size of that shape like so. And what I'm going to do now in actual fact, this could be a stair on a spiral staircase. So for instance, if I select the part there and I press F10, what I'm going to do now in actual fact is, before I do that, I'm just going to check the overall thickness of this, which is 12.5. So what I'll do, I'll pick that one there, F10, and I'm going to say, okay, what I want to do in actual fact is I want to move it in this direction. And if I just come in here like that, I'm going to say, let's copy here. And what I'm going to say is I want, say, 8 of those, and I want that at an angle of, say, 45, and I want the step up distance to be 12.5, and just go OK. So effectively now what we've got, I press F10 to lose the tribal. We've actually got a spiral staircase. We've actually done that with a copy and a step up feature within the tribal. So again, you can do these sort of staggered copies as well. So that's very powerful as well. If I do F7 on the keyboard, you can do a look at, and you can see that is the actual sort of shape. And down here, you'll see we've got one called perspective at the bottom of the screen. If I turn that off, you're actually looking square onto that staircase now. So that's a very quick introduction into some of the tools, the tribal tools within IronCAD. And as I say, it's a very powerful tool. And one of the nice things about that is you'll notice that there's nowhere in here have we actually got any sketches. We're not using sketches for any of these at this stage. We can obviously use sketches to create our parts and assemblies as well. But this is really just an indication, an overview of how you can actually very quickly create these sort of features without the use of sketches. So it's very quick and very fast. If you did that in a traditional system where you're reliant so much on work planes and sketches and everything else, then that becomes quite a time-consuming business. Especially with things like circles here on a curve, you'd have to put a work plane on there at a specific angle, and then you'd have to create a circle and then extrude that with a cut down through the part. So it's a very powerful tool. Hope that's given you some idea of the basic sort of, or the basics of using IronCAD.